the moment that Anita saw Tanya's circulations of the creation in her book, she immediately jumped on the socials to Tanya and said, "I'd love to be a big part of that." So thanks so much to Anita, who might be reflecting on this call as well, for the European version of this book launch. And really, that brings us to the key element of the essence of Tanya's book: is to be able to teach Pilates with confidence is a game changer. It's an experience that your clients walk away with. I wasn't just taken through a handful of exercises then, I was actually really connected with. I felt a genuine care and love in the way that my exercises were received. And fundamentally, I felt a significant change in my body, courtesy of the methodology that my teacher has just used. So I know without a shadow of a doubt that Tanya is hugely committed to that being part of teaching methodology across the world. And so this book is a huge part of making sure that contribution continues and moves forward. Tanya, anything you want to add at this point?
No, not at all, Bruce. I'm so grateful to be here and so grateful to you and of course Anita for this morning. And for everybody that's shown up today. It really means a lot to me. There are two people in particular that I would really like to give a shout out to. And the one is my husband, Frank, who's also supporting me today. So thank you, Frank, for being here. My son is actually sitting next to me, which is fantastic. And without the two of them, I would probably not be doing this. So their support is invaluable. And then the other one is my mentor, Philip Beach, who also happens to be on this call. And Philip, you have meant the world to me, and you've given me the courage and the strength to be able to do this, because a lot of this actually comes out of your work in a roundabout way. So that doesn't mean I don't appreciate everybody else being here. Quite a few of my students are on here as well. But yeah, it's fantastic. It's so cool to be able to celebrate with all of you. This is probably the best celebration I could have thought of. So thank you for joining me. Back to you, Bruce.
No, and I agree, it is a celebration to come together in this moment to officially launch the book. It's been in your hands, I think, for the best part of 5.5 days physically, Tanya, but to actually celebrate and have an official launch, I think, is really worthwhile celebrating. For those who aren't familiar with Tanya's great work, a quick rundown on Tanya. Arriving to Pilates initially through a career in dance and dance teaching, qualified with a degree to teach dance, and discovered Pilates in 1995 when attending a studio that a handful of you may have visited, which is Leslie Ackland's studio at Pineapple Dance Studios in London. Tanya became an apprentice for 2 years before moving to New Zealand, initially in 97, but then returned in a roundabout way, no doubt, to Oakland, California, and completed a training through the Physical Mind Institute over there, and then reverted back to, where should I live in the world with this great skill set? Came back to New Zealand, what a great choice, in 2002, and established now, 20 years ago, of course, Heart and Bones Pilates. In 2003, Tanya completed her master's teacher training with Leslie Powell in New York, and is also an NCPT since 2008. The 20-year celebration of Tanya's studio is part of why we're here to celebrate, and I think it's a great milestone, of course, to acknowledge. And writing this book was a big part of what Tanya put together. How can we best mark this fantastic occasion? And it's really at the heart of it because Tanya is all about her passion about teaching Pilates and helping teachers to teach Pilates. Yep. Tanya wants to share her experiences and knowledges so teachers can feel more confident and inspired about the way they go about their teaching. And it's a really, without further ado, I think we say, Tanya, I'd love to hand over to you and give us your version of why the guts of this, the heart of this book was such a burning desire inside of you to move forward with.
Thank you, Bruce. Well, I've been having many conversations over the last few years in particular with teachers all across the globe. I've made a very concerted effort to reach out and to ask people about their experiences. And it's really saddened me in many respects, because I've had quite a few conversations where people have said, I can't do this anymore. I feel like an imposter. I've lost my confidence. I've lost my way. I don't know how to get back. So I've just decided to stop teaching. And um, I just felt heartbroken for these teachers because they put all this effort in, something that they really loved and passionate, because let's face it, we all get into Pilates because we love the movement. And then all of a sudden to have your dream just kind of pulled out from underneath you, or just slowly crumbling before your eyes, and not knowing what to do. And I just thought, we're losing too many people out of the industry. COVID hasn't helped with that to a certain degree. And I wanted to do something to stop that, to at least give people a lifeline to being able to rekindle their passion for teaching movement again. So whether that is Pilates, yoga, dance, whatever it is, a lot of the techniques that I share in my book can be used across the board, but they specifically for dance teachers because that's what's close to my heart. I mean, to Pilates teachers because that's what's close to my heart. And so that was where this idea sort of came from. And like everything in my life, when I just make the spur of the moment decision, all of a sudden it turns into something beautiful. So one of those spur of the moment decisions was marrying my husband Frank and having my son Michael. That was literally, I think a 2-week decision, not even a decision. And they always turn out for the best. And I think that's how I feel about this book. This is 20 years of my life that's gone into this, and it came partly, the journey started partly out of my own frustration with the teacher training that I'd received, where really there was no teaching methodology. And I quickly realized as I was training my teachers that they just literally didn't know how. And the teacher training courses were not setting people up to be able to teach their passion, to be able to translate what they're feeling in their bodies. And it's not just within Pilates. In fact, quite a few physiotherapists that I've spoken to and osteopaths who like to teach movement have expressed the same thing to me. They've all said to me, we've got all this high level knowledge, but I don't know how to get it across to my clients in a way that makes sense to them. So all of that came together to bringing this book to life. I don't consider myself to be a great writer by any stretch of the imagination. I come straight to the point in a lot. There's no sort of waffling around with me. So the book is not very thick. It's not very hard to sort of get through it. I don't think. But if you are struggling, on the dedication page, there is actually an infographic about the different areas that the book covers, but right in the middle here, you will see a link to an online course. And there is a discount code for you to join that online course. So you get $100 off the cost, and everything that's in the book is in video format. For you to work through. And I have the lovely Mariela's on the call as well. You will even see her on there when I'm teaching the sort of clarification sections. She is the model for most of those videos, where it's not just me blathering on. So yeah, so it's just a really exciting time to be able to share this with you, to finally put together 20 years of my life, 20 years of my exploring, and 20 years of my teaching expertise for teachers. I know these techniques work. The majority of people that I have coming to train with me now are people who say, I did classes with this teacher, and this teacher that you've trained with, and they were the only people that I really enjoyed doing classes with. I understood what they wanted from me. I felt it was really inspiring. And every single time I asked the teacher where they trained, they said they trained with you. So that's why I've reached out. That's why I want to train with you. So I think that speaks volumes to the success of these methods. They don't make you just a better Pilates teacher, but they help you to run your business. They help you to communicate with your clients in a very clear manner. So I'm going to stop talking about that right now, and I am now going to tell you all about Bruce. Because there's a reason why Bruce is such an important person today. Bruce and I go back nearly 20 years. In fact, we met in 2003 when Bruce came over to teach some workshops, and we immediately connected. And it's been a friendship that's developed over the past 20 years. We've been supporting each other. We've been each other's sounding board. And I can't tell you how many times Bruce and I have sort of chewed the fat and realized how much we have in common. So it is with so much joy that I spend this time with him again and with all of you. He is an incredible Pilates teacher from my perspective, an incredible human being. He comes from a sports science background that he completed in 1997. And then he went to the UK and he studied Pilates with body control Pilates in the late 1990s. So he has studied with people all around the world, including Saridama in Los Angeles and Michael Miller in Colorado. He is also very familiar with the work of Eric Franklin. And in fact, that's how I met Bruce, because I had heard about Eric, had been desperately wanting to do some of his workshops. And so when Bruce came over in 2003, that's exactly what I did. And it opened up sort of this whole world of imagery that I'd already been studying, but putting it into this beautiful movement format, which I just enjoyed. And I actually did do some study with Eric Franklin after that. Towards the end of his time in the UK, he went to Scotland, where he headed their body control Pilates studio there. He was the manager for it. And he worked with the UK rock band Radiohead and also cast members of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. So what an amazing time. It was a very rich time, I think, in the UK at that time, because I actually was sort of in the studio with people like Tina Turner and a whole load of other celebrities and things like that. It was a very creative time, I think, and we were just so lucky to be a part of that, both at the same time wherever we were. Bruce returned to Australia in 2004, and he established Balance and Control Pilates in Melbourne, which he ran for 15 years. So he really did it big. He had 3 different locations, over 70 staff. And he was also working as a strength coach at the Australian Ballet School for 6 years from 2005. And that's another parallel for us, because I worked at the New Zealand School of Dance for 3.5 years from 2003 to 2006. So we had that in common. And believe it or not, this very tall, athletic man also studied ballet. So I was very impressed that Bruce actually could humble himself to put on a pair of tights and go and do some dance classes. And so we used to have quite a few good giggles about that one. So for me and Bruce, we have a mutual love of quality Pilates teaching, specifically Pilates methodology. And he was also my keynote speaker back in 2012 when I organized the first conference in New Zealand for Pilates. He came over and we had a wonderful couple of days together, filming workshops and things, but then also presenting at the conference with, I think we had about 20 or 30 people there, and it was just fantastic. In Bruce's spare time, because he's got so much of it, because he really doesn't do very much, does he? He also produces the Pilates Diaries podcast, and he volunteers his time on the board of the Pilates Alliance of Australia, the PAA, and he is now working, or he has been working, how long has it now been, Bruce? The last 5 years? 4 years, okay, on a booking system app called Trimio, which I've had the great privilege of being a guinea pig for since its concept. And it is going to just revolutionize the way that you can book, pay your instructors, and also use up any spare time in your studio. Unfortunately, it's only being launched in Australia later this year. I can't wait for it to come to New Zealand. It's going to be extremely exciting, and it's just going to make things a lot easier, and you're going to be able to run your business better. So I am going to hand you back to Bruce now, and he is going to discuss some aspects of my book, things that he really appreciates, and some of his insights into the future of teaching Pilates. So without further ado, Bruce, take it away.
Thank you, Tania, for that massive wrap. I've just dropped the link to the Pilates Diaries podcast if you're interested to have a listen to there. We're approaching 20 episodes, so I thought that was fairly appropriate, Tania, given your 20th year as well. So we've got an exciting, reasonably well-known Pilates teacher who sometimes is a little controversial for the 20th episode, so keep an ear out for that one. He may even own some archival stuff out of New York as well, so keep an ear out for some interesting, very interesting insights. I have that on my editing desk as we speak. Tania, one of the key things that really stands out about Tania and my relationship is we've always shared this vision about the clarity that teaching Pilates is more than just doing Pilates. It's easy to put on a pair of tights, as Tania just said, and just carry on with the exercises, but the skill and the methodology, and I say skill very deliberately, the skill to learn to be a teacher can be taught, can be learnt, and there's a lot to it. And so it's really great that Tania's book goes into a lot of detail. And this is one of our discussion points in the European launch of the book is, and this is what I'll bring up a little later with Tania, is where does Tania see the gap that there was obviously a need for this book, given that a lot of teacher training programs are very comprehensive. However, what is it that Tania saw that kept coming up that wasn't being covered specifically? So this is a great feature of the book, is to be able to flick through at any point and pick it up and take away some key points. A couple other key things that stood out for me about Tania's book is it's about fundamentally keeping the client at the center of your focus, really making that number one. Yes, we've got to make a living. Yes, we've got to put our energies into it and so forth. But if we can really put ourselves aside and get into the world of our client, that's very much what Tania's book is talking about with a lot of clarity. And the other thing is, although we obviously teach a certain repertoire and so forth, it's always crucial that we teach appropriate to the client's body and the client's capabilities. So it's, again, coming back to that key point about what the client focus of the exercises are. You might look at a whole bunch of things on social media these days, and I've always also, along with Tania, had this juxtaposition going on of in my opinion, the true Pilates happens on the inside. So to see things just visually and visually alone on all the well-known social media platforms doesn't make it any less valid, but keep looking obviously for this internal focus on what goes on the inside with Pilates. There's a lot of subtleties to teaching Pilates well. So it can actually be the real difference, is finding these little nuances and working with your clients, as the book goes into a lot of detail of, helps you to connect with your clients and achieve those subtleties as you move forward with your clients. Yep. And really similar to my first point is that teaching is not instructing. Instructing can become more of a dictatorial type approach where you just tell the things for the clients to say or the clients to execute, but really making sure that you convey across to your clients. So those are some of the key points that stand out for me in Tania's wonderful book. So thank you, Derek, for dropping a quick note on the chat just now, for jumping on and grabbing a copy of the book. Fantastic. And Tania also asked me to expand a little bit on today's call about some of the key elements that I have taken from my journey across the years of teaching Pilates and running businesses and so forth. So I'm just going to take a moment now to go through some of those key points that stand out for me as well. Similar to Tania, I've been, I consider it a privilege really, and very fortunate to be able to have owned and run Pilates studios for the best part of the last 20 years as well. And quite simply, I just would not have been paying attention to have not noticed the patterns that have come through on many levels, from staff, from clients, from the interactions and so forth. So there's a lot of patterns, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys today on the call. The skill of teaching Pilates does take time to develop. So when you come out of an instructor training program, it's easy to go, why don't I know this yet? It does take time to add more and more layers to your skill set. So this is common advice that I give to various people, new instructors, relatively new teachers across the board. Be patient, let things percolate, let yourself develop, and it does take a bit of time. My next suggestion and recommendation is that it's crucial that you're well guided in your teaching of Pilates. You must surround yourself with inspiring and experienced teachers who can help guide you on your path. So I think the book speaks of that, getting some obviously seasoned advice and seasoned recommendations from Tania through the book is a big part of that for sure. Be aware that the role that you're focusing on requires you to be in it for the clients. I touched on that briefly before, but there is this centralized focus that what your clients are there for needs to be your primary focus. If you're distracted by what's going on in your world too much, then it can get in the way very much of what's going on for the client. The next one, and it's a big passion of mine, is the economic success of Pilates teaching as a career moving forward is being aware that your earning potential will be largely limited by the time for money exchange. This is something Tania and I have talked about at length. Yep. You won't earn $1 million, but you can earn a decent income. But it does require you to be smart with your time and to build strong, long-lasting, loyal relationships with your clients. I've said this for a long time as an equation is to commit 50% of your teaching load working for someone else. What I find in that recommendation is it will keep you connected with the industry, with the team of teachers, and it will keep you continued to be inspired for ongoing learning. However, in this scenario, quite literally because the studio owner won't be able to afford to, you won't get paid significantly for this time. But there are other things to take and gain from that time. The other half of the equation is to commit to 50% of developing your own clientele. You can obviously get a bit solo in that kind of regard, so that's why I recommend making this balance. But you can certainly earn considerably more if you do it well. You will be required to do the work in creating these sort of classes, but I highly recommend you work and find a way to be able to manage 50% of your caseload yourself. This ratio that I'm recommending in this equation will highly likely shift over time, either one way or the other, of course, but it is helpful to maintain some sort of balance in amongst these that works for you. For those who may be studio owners on the call or listening back to the recording, don't lose heart if your staff move on. It's an inevitability, unfortunately, and you ultimately need to develop a business model that protects you from this. And this is the second half of my suggestion, is you must invest heavily in your staff. They are really your greatest asset. And so to spend quality time with them and have them feel nurtured is an important part. So to find a balance between these two things is really something for you to come to a nice agreement in the way that you operate and your mindset around having staff on your team. Next recommendation. Do not teach any more than 25 hours per week. It's a ballpark number, of course. You may or may not be able to do more or less than that. I need you to find a way for yourself to get a balance there. I use that as a ballpark number because if you're currently working 35 upwards and feeling completely cooked in what you're doing, there's a reason. I'm 20 odd years into my teaching as well, and I can see Tania nodding vigorously there. It can be too much on your plate. So just find that balance for yourself. And on top of that, obviously working only 25 hours a week may or may not be sufficient for your personal or your family's income. So make sure you find a complementary income stream from the remaining time in your week. Next point is to teach people who appreciate you. If you have so-called vampires in your classes and they're constantly sucking you, the classic meerkat who will sit up at the end of one exercise and one repetition and say, what's next, what's next, what's next? It can be rather exhausting. So make sure that you nurture and encourage the inwardly focusing homework doing clients that I really appreciate your advice. If someone doesn't appreciate you and just comes for the run of the mill, my experience tells me that that's rather exhausting because you end up repeating yourself rather than diving a lot deeper and nurturing ongoing relationships with them. So find a balance and avoid giving too much of yourself. Above all else, and this is my final point to take away from today, is read Tania's book. It's a simple one, but it's filled with a range of treasures that you'll find yourself coming back to time and time again. And generally, I find it's a really good sign of a great book is when you can pick it up at any point through the book. You can read just a couple of paragraphs or a couple of chapters or whatever it might be that you might have time for at that point. And you're going to take away something to think on, process, something to chew on, and something to apply in the upcoming classes that you're either participating in or teaching in the coming time. So those are my key points that I recommend that you find a way to integrate. And of course, Tania's book is a wonderful central place to come back to and have a go at applying all those ideas. Tania.
Yes, Bruce. Lovely.
Your thoughts on some of those points?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on the not teaching too much. I mean, I've over the years fallen into that trap, got to a point where I got really burnt out, and it really isn't a good place to be. But in saying that, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing or the way that I'm doing now if that hadn't happened to me, because I learn best through experience. And that's also why in my book, there's a whole section on mindset, because I think that is always the best place to start. Is, how do you build your confidence so that it's there for the long term? How do you deal with your imposter syndrome? And how do you really value yourself in that equation? Because I think quite often, as Pilates teachers, we're so geared towards reaching out and helping that we really need to understand how to set our own boundaries and how to keep feeding ourselves. So I think, everything that you're saying there, Bruce, is so valid, and not over teaching, because then your fatigue sets in, that compassion fatigue sets in as well. You stop caring about people's problems, their physical problems in their bodies. So finding that balance and keeping your inspiration going, for me, this is year 27. Yes, it's important. It's important. You couldn't be teaching the same thing year in and year out if you didn't know how to take care of you in that equation. And it's not selfish. It's necessary. So yeah.
Exactly.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Bruce.
My pleasure. Tania, we're now going to move into the part of the book launch where Tania's going to read a couple of excerpts from the book. So it's I have recollections of sitting on the primary school carpet with visiting touring authors reading to us from their wonderful recently published books. So we get to enjoy that experience again. Tania, we're going to start with the little section on page 23 to 25. Is that okay to proceed with that just now?
Yes, absolutely. And then we'll have a little discussion between the sections as well. So,
Sure.
if you do have any observations or things that you agree with or questions that you have that come up as I read, please pop it into the chat, and then we'll, open up all the mics and we'll have a nice open discussion about it all.
Sounds good. Because there are some gold nuggets in amongst this next little section. So that'll be great to talk through.
So I'm reading from sort of the second to last paragraph at the bottom of page 23. When you are clear, and this is a word that Bruce used earlier, clarity, that's a big one. When you are clear and passionate about your skills, you want to share them with the world. You will have the motivation to pursue this plan. You can live your life with purpose. You will keep working for what you want regardless of other people's doubts and any setbacks along the way. Be curious. Curiosity led to many breakthrough discoveries and inventions throughout history. Interest precedes the impulse to seek new information, experiences, and possibilities. Using curiosity when you teach is a fantastic way to build trust between you and your clients. It means you can work as a team to solve their movement challenges. You are no longer the expert in the room. You are no longer alone in this journey of helping your client move better. Curiosity can help clients take ownership of their movement journey. They can start finding ways to move better in their everyday life without you being there. At the same time, your expertise can shine through. You can use your expert knowledge to guide them. You don't need to know everything. You can't know everything because new ideas and research mean our knowledge evolves. Clients came to you for help. You can provide that help in your unique way. Knowing every condition a client can come with is crippling and unrealistic, but you can inform yourself as you go along. The most important thing is to make your client feel heard and understood. Support them to find ways to move that help them achieve their goals. Why do they want to move better? Sometimes it is to sit on the floor playing with grandchildren. Others may want to keep playing golf for as long as they can. Whatever their goal is, you can get curious with them and explore what is possible. Sorry, I'm just going to go and close that door. Just a bit of sound coming from the other people in the house. Through curiosity, you can help people build more sustainable movement habits. You can help them learn to trust themselves rather than getting stuck on what they can't do. Combining your movement knowledge with curiosity allows clients to explore their abilities. There is a difference between experiencing movement and doing exercise. Our culture focuses on doing movement. We do 15 repetitions of an exercise or walk 10,000 steps. We do the numbers. We push through, sparing no thought for the experience, all the time thinking we are doing something worthwhile. Somewhere along the line, we start using exercise as punishment. To me, movement should feel joyful, more like an adventure. I love exploring different ways my body can move. Being stuck in set routines or numbers feels restrictive and boring. The numbers approach robs you of your curiosity and motivation to move. When you get curious, you don't have to make yourself move. It is no longer a thing you need to get done. You choose to move to make yourself feel alive, engaged, and free. The tools you learn in this book will help you include curiosity in your teaching practice. I'm going to share with you 3 ways to build movement curiosity. Number 1 is give your clients movement choices. Provide different options for the same movement. Ask clients to do the one they feel best doing. Your word choices will help you ignite their curiosity. You can words like, I wonder, what would happen if, rather than can you or you should. Number 2, it doesn't have to look pretty. Exploring new ways to move can look unflattering, and that is okay. It is how you experience the movement that matters. There is no wrong way to move. You have more choices. And third thing is move without judgment. Clients may compare the way they look and move against you or other class participants. Create a safe space where you can focus on the way they need to move to have a positive experience. So that's the end of that reading. I love that. Yes, love ugly Pilates.
As long as it's effective.
Great. Yeah, exactly. That's a great clue.
Would anyone like to chime in with what they took away from those couple of pages, 23 to 25? So when you receive the book, you can recount Tania's special words just then. Anyone like to come off mute and offer something they took away from that quick little stanza that Tania's just read? For me, it was, Tania, this really the thing that jumped out at me early was to understand that you don't have to have all the answers. And I particularly think that's super important when you're developing a confidence in the early stages of teaching, that it's okay to fess up to your clients and say, look, that's a curly one. I actually haven't come across that yet. And even grab the moment and say, look, if it's not appropriate to continue with class for today based on what you're telling me, then let's just park it, shall we? Or and this is my interpretation of Joseph Pilates' approach, of course, is to find a way to work around it and find what is possible to do, what the client can do rather than what they should do or they have to do. How do you find a workaround for that? So making sure that you don't take it on that you have to know every pathology and condition inside out, every psychological concern that the client's got, all of the above, to really just hold the space for the client and not have to know all the answers right away.
That's true. Yeah,
is that what you intended from that little piece?
Absolutely. And I mean, I still have people coming in with things I've never heard of before. So my take is, you're the expert. My client, you standing there in front of me, you're the expert. So I say to them, well, actually, no, I don't know anything about this condition, but I'm willing to find out. But for now, how do you move? And what is hurting you? And then what do you do to make it feel better? Because they instinctively know what to do to make themselves feel better. And that's my starting point. They give me the answers. And then I go away and inform myself. But, even I have some clients that go, oh, I really hurt my ankle or I really hurt my back over the weekend. Should I still come in? And it's like, yes, of course. There's more to you than just your back. There's so much more of you that we can move, and then your back will probably feel better, or your ankle or your knee or your elbow. So yeah, I think for me, it's that willingness to have the conversation. It's that willingness to get in the boat with the client, rather than to think that you have to be the one to steer it, but that the two of you can work together to find something that works. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, just taking the anxiety away.
I was just thinking,
being patient with that too. Carry on, Sharon.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I've just sort of written it in there. They often just need permission to trust themselves and do what feels right. So, like if they feel unsure, you giving their feelings and their experience some validation is often all they need to go, okay, like, yes, I do understand my body and do that. Because when you're some people feel a bit lost with their bodies and they just need that permission. So that's a really good, a really good point too, that, so you've brought up there to let them do that.
Yeah. Fantastic, John. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. You don't learn this in your training. You get told the exercises you teach, what you have to do, and then you should teach the people, but you don't learn how to communicate nicely with them, and that they also listen to themselves and listen to their body. And I think this takes really time. And this takes time for you as a teacher to learn, to understand, you don't know. In the beginning, you don't know anything. You know the exercise, but really you don't know anything. And it does take time. But I think it would be really, really nice if there was more of that in the teacher programs. Anyway, the ones that I have done, teacher training programs, to have that in those programs as well, to make people understand, to listen to their bodies, and for us to listen to their bodies, not just teaching the exercises by rote. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Takes a while.
It does, Nina. It sure does. I always say to my trainees, you don't really learn how to teach until you've done your exam. That's when the real learning starts.
Yeah, that's true too. Because you're so overwhelmed with everything anyway, and then you learn and you give yourself permission as well to do other things, so to learn other movements and not just what you have to study in your manual. And I think then we learn a lot more on how to deal with clients as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nina. I just see
the thing that jumps out for me. Carry on, Tania.
I just see there's a message here from Laura. So thank you, Laura. I'm going to read that out. I love the idea of curiosity and the idea of play. Let's play with this movement. What feels good, doesn't, etc. Great reminder of the language to utilize as well. Yeah, I really believe that the words have a lot of power, the words that we choose. So some of my favorite words is give your shoulder permission to relax, for example. So the word permission, just like you said, Sharon. Another one of my favorites is invite the movement. Yeah, invite the movement into your body. So if this position doesn't feel right, what are you going to move? Where are you going to move it to make the movement feel nurturing for you? Yeah. So that's so what were you going to say, Bruce?
I was just going to come back to Nina's point of, can you give us your experience, Nina, of whether there is a formula or a methodology to finding that in your teaching? Do you think there's a way to possibly accelerate that or create some structure and guidance around that? Or do you feel like it's just hopefully an accidental arrival at some point?
I think it's a bit of time thing, but I think it's also just to believe that you are trying to do the best for your client and not get hung up on the individual exercises as such. Don't get hung up on what you have learned, but think about that you want to just get people to move and be confident that that's what you can do with your clients. And I think that for me was a big switching point, not worrying so much about the repertoire as such, but also invite other exercise forms in, or things that I might like to do on the floor when I'm rolling around on the rug or whatever, and giving that to the clients as well. And I think you just have to be confident that you're not going to hurt your client, and they also need to be confident in you to say, no, I don't like this, and also listen to their body. And I think that's really, really important, to have that connection with your client, that they are honest, you are honest. As you said before, also to say, well, I actually don't know right now what's happening with your body. Let me read up on it, And so I think just a little bit of confidence is good. And no, you're not going to hurt them. You're there to help them. But that takes a while. It doesn't come automatically. Yeah.
I think on that note, the most important part of my training was actually working under a senior instructor and just watching them closely and picking things up that wasn't in the course, or or looking at how they adapted the exercise, or I think that's where I learned the most. You learn the repertoire and you learn the movement, but the real learning comes as you become an instructor and with your experience and the confidence the confidence. It's having the confidence, and really you're just sort of winging it in the beginning, and that's why you've got that sort of formula structure of doing your warm-up, doing your leg work, and then you can vary and move out of that structure depending on the body that you're working with or how you're feeling that day. If you're tired, well, you just go, all right, let's just do let's get you through the movement today because I've got no energy. You sort of have to adapt. But I found myself overworking and teaching 45 hours a week and not, really doing anything for myself. But I was orchestrating my clients. I was, doing so much for them because I wanted to get the work done. And then COVID hit, which was a blessing because everything collapsed. I lost my studio and, stopped work, thank God. I was like, oh, thank God, I can not work for 3 months. It was actually a blessing in disguise. And I've come back to working differently now, and I'm working less, and I feel, I definitely was burning out and had lost the inspiration. So I'm in a bit of a limbo at the moment, but that you can really sort of find that you're just producing the work and not getting to the nitty gritty of it, really. Yeah. There's a whole lot of other things involved in it, but yeah.
Right, thank you.
One more thing I find important is to really also have a good relationship with your clients, and not just see them as, there's one client coming, client A, client B, client C coming in, but they're individuals, and I'm quite friendly with all of my clients, really, and I feel that if they needed to, they could come to me with any question, and I think this is really important too. I don't take their issues on. If they want to talk about an issue with me, I'm happy to do that, but I don't store that and make that my issue. But I think it's really, really important to be quite personable with them as well. You're close to them, and not see them as somebody just bringing a revenue in.
No, they become friends in a way, really. It's a social, very social thing, Pilates instructor.
Yeah.
One of my clients made a really telling comment. She said, "But Tania, I see you more than my best friend."
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
they see you every single week. You don't see your best friend every week. So we play a very large part in their lives if they committed to coming to Pilates. So, we do have a big responsibility, but as you said, Nina, we can't take on their problems because that way lies madness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that
we
is very
can,
hard.
yeah, but we can get in touch with them if somebody's sick. You can flick a quick text message. How are you? You feeling better? Whatever. Something like that, I think, makes a big, big impact on a person's life to trust you as their instructor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's great. I just see there are a couple more sort of observations here. So Derek says, I like talking about experiment and variation. Let's do this with curiosity. We'll learn something by doing and can vary or adapt. Yeah, very nice, Derek. I love that. And then Susan says, also, you are reminding me of a special quality of attention that comes from this clear intention to help and having curiosity. Oh, thank you, Susan. Yes, I think, keeping that, not being too serious. I mean, what we do is serious, but we need to enjoy movement. We need to have fun. Movement is fun. Remember what it was like moving as a child. And I think sometimes we get so bogged down with doing the absolute correct alignment and absolute correct form of the exercise that we start forgetting why we got involved in the first place. And we got involved with Pilates because it was fun to do, right? So don't lose the fun. Enjoy it. It really is the only way to have a longevity in our careers, is to really enjoy the movement ourselves, but to instill that love of movement in other people, because so often it is a punishment. Yeah, people have gone to the gym, no pain, no gain. I don't want to exercise that way. I don't want to move that way. I don't want to be sore afterwards. That just makes me grumpy. I want to feel good in my body when I'm done. And so do my clients.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's the thing, is we're not there. They didn't come to us to get great at Pilates. If they did, they'd want to be a teacher. They just want to get great at life.
Yes.
So they just want to have a great life, be able to move and do things well, So, often our intention of teaching them all of the exercises isn't their intention really at all. I mean, they just want to get great at life. And if the exercises get them there, then, that's the gift that we can give them. But they didn't come to you particularly to get great at Pilates.
Yeah, I've never had a client coming to me when I ask them for their goal saying, I want to be able to do the hundreds better. Nobody's ever said that to me. They've all said to me, well, I want to play golf better. I want to play with my grandchildren. So the exercises are the vehicle, and it's how we use those exercises appropriately. And it might never even be the full exercise. It might just be the essence of the exercise that we share with them, right? So
if they really notice when they get better at the hundreds, they might still do it, but they're the ones who will notice that they're getting better. They go, oh, look, this is easy. No, they won't say easy. They've learned that from me. This is, I'm getting better at this. If they say easy, it's like, watch out.
Yeah.
So they've learned.
It's a bit like learning a language, isn't it? And the context of the movement is why you learn the movement, like the context of learning a language, whether it's for, work or living in the country. It's the same thing as the movement is your language.
Yeah. It's all about communication.
Mm.
Movement is just another form of that. Absolutely. Cool.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for your really rich discussion. We really appreciate it. The next bit that Tania's going to read is from page 54, and it's along the lines of intrinsic feedback.
So it's what motivates your clients is the heading for this. Motivation walks hand in hand with goal achievement. Making progress towards your goals increases your motivation. As a movement teacher, you are helping clients to reach their goals. We do this by assisting them to gain intrinsic feedback and encouragement. Intrinsic motivators fosters belief in the value of looking after your body and movement health. Developing an awareness of our sensory system will build our perception more. Intrinsic motivation tools can also help you to foster committed clients. Focus on making the exercises you teach relevant to each client. For example, incorporate clients' personal experiences into lessons. You can also discuss the reasons for choosing specific exercises. You can figure out how certain tasks fit your client's everyday life. Making connections to previous learning can also help. We all learn by doing, making, writing, designing, creating, or problem solving. Telling clients what to do makes them passive, and they expect you to provide all the answers. It reduces their curiosity. Instead, encourage clients to suggest approaches to problems and become active class participants. Then allow them to practice the movements, invite them to explore and verbalize what they feel. Short passage there for you. So this
Fantastic.
is something that I hold very centrally to the way that I teach, is that sensory awareness and actually training my clients to be able to read their internal experience. And sometimes it takes a very long time. Sometimes it'll take up to 3 months because people are so out of their bodies. We'll do something, we'll do some benchmarking. I'll say, well, can you feel the difference? And they go, no, it doesn't feel any different to me. And I go, can you not feel that hip is a little bit lower? Or can you not feel that leg is a bit longer? Or you not feel that shoulder is a bit wider than the other one? And then I go, oh, yeah, now that you mention it, I do. But they just don't have the language. So we have to teach them to find that language. And it's so beautiful when they do find it themselves and they volunteer that information themselves. That's when I start getting really excited because I know I've sort of kinked it open a little bit. I've got some light going into that body, and they're learning about themselves. So it's great.
And that comes back to the body awareness part. And I often say this little bit, Tania, is the common cliche that I understand originally came from Joseph Pilates, but I've had that questioned in the past, is in 10 sessions you'll feel the difference, in 20 sessions you'll see a difference, and in 30 sessions you'll have a whole new body. My favourite word out of that whole section is the feel. So in 10 sessions you feel the difference. And getting a new sensory awareness of your body as you carry yourself through your day. And we talked about this in previous conversations, Tania, is that you'd be crazy to think that 1 hour or 2 or 3 hours a week would really have any great effect in the context of 168 other hours when you're busy with your life. But if you can take the cordial approach where you have a concentrated session for the 1 or 2 or 3 hours a week and have it dilute into the rest of your week to make a drinkable version, then it makes it a nice balance for people's movement week, really, beyond just what they're focusing on for 1 hour, if they can find the blend there.
That's for sure. That's beautifully put. I like the cordial approach. Thank you, Bruce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Susan, you've nailed it there with your comment. My original teacher said, we teach people, not exercises. I've heard that also in the context of a coffee chain that has pretty good brand around the world, is that they serve people rather than serving coffees. So I quite like that. And Marielle, and for you, it's being a fresh graduate at Tania Studio. Hey, congratulations. I was able to learn from Tania how to bridge and communicate our gift to see humans and human bodies as they are, and the Pilates exercise and the passion of movement. Very thankful for the Tania way. Thank you, Marielle.
Thank you,
Did you want to add to that at all?
For me, it's like a double way to be here. I'm still hearing new things. For me, going into the studio is every time a new experience, even though I teach dance. And Tania is just giving me the playful way of getting into my own sessions with clients. And it's giving me that confidence, because it is at the end of the day, you want to give people the easy way, the easy approach to do movement. And that's what I mean with the Tania way, is that insight of also calming yourself down, that we're here to bridge things, and we don't have to know everything. And what you just read from the book is really what I learned and heard from you in our training together. So beautiful.
Thank you, Mariella.
Great. Anything else you wanted to add at that point, Tania?
No, I think I'm good. If everybody else is happy with that sort of a version of our discussion, then I think we can move on, Bruce.
Yeah, think I might have just missed Julia's contribution to the chat. The teachers that have taken classes with and observed through your training, Julia, very much having a conversational type style with their teaching. I think that very much speaks of confidence as well. To be comfortable to not have to have a certain structure in the way that the words are delivered, but to thread it into a comfortable and easy conversation. Pauses in talking and instructing are helpful and give you time to think about the movement and actually enjoy it. Thoroughly agree. It reminds me of a previous student on one of our training programs noting that she was starting to observe movement very, very differently. And I said, what's been the difference for you, Joe? And she said, I'm not exactly sure. And so we chatted through it a little more. And she realized that she had finally come to a stage of progress where she didn't feel like she had to keep talking throughout the whole class. So she became much more succinct with her choice of words. And in the newfound space that she had between talking, she found herself being able to stand back and observe very differently. So to have that new level of confidence for herself in that context was to be more than likely much more conversational, much more to the point, and then allow the client to actually do the exercises rather than just constantly firing them with exercises. So I think Tania's nod just then confirms that it can come in many shapes and sizes and forms, is this ability to find that confidence in our own teaching in a range of different ways.
Yeah, I think we often over cue when we first start teaching, right? And you're giving your client 6 instructions and they're getting lost. So my golden rule is 1 instruction at a time, just 1, and give your client a chance to explore it. And the golden rule again is 3, because just like making pancakes, the first pancake is rubbish. Doesn't matter how good you are at moving. Whenever you do a new movement, the first one's rubbish. So that's just the one that just kind of your body goes, I'm doing what? Number 2, your body starts taking it on board. And then number 3 is when you're really cooking. And that's when they're putting the things in place. And then it's time to give them something else. So yeah, so those are kind of, we've got Philip's doing a raised hand. Yes, Philip. I knew you'd love that one. So we make pancakes, yeah, whenever we're busy moving.
As long as you don't burn yourself when you try your first attempt at a new exercise. That's how my pancakes.
Aloe vera is good for that.
I just wanted to say, I think it's also part of that being confident is that you are comfortable in your body as you teach a little bit longer. Because especially where I did my first training was we were told to stand quite stiffly in Pilates stance. And it took me a moment to get rid of that and if I teach now and I feel like rolling around on the floor because I want to show something, that's what I will do. If it suits the client. If I feel like, I just want to sit down for a minute while I'm teaching a class, then I will do that. Nobody cares. No. And nobody cares at all. And it makes yourself a lot more comfortable. And you move in a natural way, and I think it makes your clients a lot more comfortable instead of being the standoffish person standing like a ramrock soldier, towering over them while they're on the floor on the equipment.
That's very true. Yeah. So it's your physical presence is embodied in the way that you move, and if you move in a way that alienates you from your clients, you're not going to be able to build that relationship, right?
No, you need to be relaxed. Yeah,
absolutely.
Imagine you're in your own living room. Yeah, that's what I do.
I am. I am in the room. That's for sure. Cool.
Tania, would you like to read back Alison B's contribution to the chat just there?
Lovely to have you here. Often the question is being asked, what is the difference between what we as Pilates professionals do compared to gym style Pilates? In your book, you are defining these concepts so succinctly. Well done. Oh, thank you, Alison. Yes. Yeah, there's one of my bugbears, isn't it? I really don't believe that Pilates should be done in a gym style. I don't think that was ever the intention. And I'm assuming that, Alison, what you mean by doing it as a gym style is kind of hard out, by the numbers, making it as hard as possible and breaking a sweat.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It just takes away from that mindfulness of movement, doesn't it?
That's right.
And I really don't like this, hit Pilates stuff. And, maybe I'm just too old fashioned, but, if you want to do hit, go and do hit. It complements all the movement that you're doing. If you want to go and do Tai Chi, go and do Tai Chi. And if you want to go and do CrossFit, go and do CrossFit. But don't try and blend Pilates with everything under the sun. It's not Pilates anymore,
And sadly, this is the confusion for not our clients, because our clients know what we do and get to know us and trust us, but it's the confusion for the general population now.
Yes,
So
I think
defining what we do and how we go about it very succinctly. And I liked at the beginning of the discussion when you said, I get straight to the point. Well, and the general public needs to understand what we do straight to the point in a way so that they don't get too confused.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of Pilates is losing its identity.
It is.
As a result of this, and that's why there is a lack of clarity within the population, and that's why people are still saying, oh yeah, Pilates is like yoga.
Yes, right.
And I mean, for heaven's sake, how long have we been teaching? How long have we been doing Pilates? And we shouldn't still have that confusion within the general population. And I also think us as Pilates teachers need to be very clear about what it is that we teach and what those parameters are. Because no movement style can do everything.
No. Well, and I also think defining the fact that we work as part of a team. We are a part of a team. I wrote an article a while ago for the Massage Therapy Association in their journal about the fact that, yes, we're Pilates professionals, but we're part of a team of people who actually take care of our clients in various ways. So not only do we need to think about our communication to our clients and how we go about that, but we also need to promote our own communication to the team of people who take care of our clients at the same time, because we don't know everything and we can't know everything, and nor should we expect that we do or solve everything. But we are part of a team, and really open discussion with other healthcare professionals really opens up the fact that Pilates world has some great attributes which need to be considered by those healthcare professionals. Yeah. So we promote our industry by having good connection with the wider sphere of family members, if we like to call the people who take care of our clients, the medical family members.
Yeah.
Really important.
I agree with you 100%. And that's the way I prefer to work. In fact, most of my work is by referral. And those are the relationships that I value the most, because we can have an open discussion and I then am guided by what they are doing.
That's right.
I can feed back to them how I'm supporting what they are doing with their clients. And I'd much rather be in that situation, because it makes it more fun for a start. And B, I'm not the one solely responsible. I don't want to be the person solely responsible for somebody's movement health when they've got challenges. I just want to do the movement bit because that's the bit I like. So yeah.
But this whole sort of, I call it McDonald's Pilates. I'm in regional Australia and I keep on getting these calls from people moving out of Sydney. Oh, I'd like to come and do Pilates. How much is it? And I said, well, you need to come and do it private and it's this much. Oh, but in Sydney, I paid $25 a week and I could go anytime. Yeah. And then they hang up and they go. And then what I'm worried about is these reformer classes that are being taught and people are being trained to teach just reformer is basically gym work. But, is it going to give us Pilates that we've been trying so hard to get people to understand what it is, a bad name, because people are going to hurt themselves, and it's not really what Pilates is. And I feel a duty to actually teach reformer classes properly. Not that I want to, but I worry that it's detrimental to our industry, I think. And I mean, it's not my responsibility, but yeah.
No. Well, I think we all feel a responsibility, but actually I think Bruce had a great response to that, because we actually talked about this in the previous one, and it's interesting that she used the word McDonald's, isn't it, Bruce? So can you tell us what you mentioned before about our McDonald's approach?
Emma, I think your point is bang on, and I agree. I have a similar concern for the dilution of the message and what people come to expect from Pilates. My take on it is that McDonald's as a restaurant isn't going anywhere, and evidently there's always going to be a market for that. What you miss out on, though, is any sense of nutritional benefit of eating such food, and nor I would hazard a guess that you'd ever formed any meaningful relationship with anyone who served you at that counter desk over the years. But quality Pilates is a real transformation where you do actually get some nutritional benefit in the form of understanding your body newly and actually developing a real life experience and a nurturing experience with the person who serves you and in the form of your instructor. So I have patterned that into the language with my children, where why would you want to go there and eat plastic food? I think it's the same that I sneak into the conversation with people who are interested in that cheap approach. I say, well, you get what you pay for, and go seeking. And I can't actually recommend any one approach individually, because if you're getting something out of it, then good for you. But here we are with this offering, and when it's the right time for you to come and have this problem solved, then we'll be here and be ready and waiting for you.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think in a way it helps sort of bring the word Pilates into the conversation. And I remember a few years ago walking around Wellington, and within the space of 2 hours, I heard the word Pilates mentioned 3 times on the street and in cafes. Whereas, for years before that, people went, per what? And they had no clue what it was. So I think in terms of making people aware that there is this exercise form, that's probably about the only value that those classes have got. But, it's, I always say to people, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So it's as simple as that. At the end of the day, it's your choice. If you are really serious about your movement health, are you really going to go for the bargain basement offer? Or are you going to do something that really nurtures you? If exercise for you is ticking the box, then you're going to go and you're going to do some of those reformer Pilates classes. And it can still be done well, I think. Especially if you've got a really good structure, if you've got some, beginners classes going on in there, and you've got well-informed Pilates teachers trained, then the group format on the reformer can work. It really is a different form of teaching mat classes, more complex, more responsibility, because those springs are like a loaded gun. You get it wrong, you do some serious damage. But I think it can be done well, Emma, but I think you should only do it if you're really passionate about it. I don't think you should do it if you're doing it in a response to something else, because there are people that are passionate about doing it well, and it's just a question of finding it. And I'm just hoping that people, through the experience of Pilates, will go and seek out a better form. It's certainly in my experience, I've had clients come to me over the years who've done Pilates elsewhere, who didn't like the approach, but knew that there was something within the movement system that called to them. And then, they found me and they really enjoyed what they learned, and it was what they were looking for. And it doesn't have to be me. It can be, whoever else takes Pilates seriously. I just happen to be in the right place at the right time to help this person with their needs. And I think people very quickly know whether they're important. And let's face it, the way we teach, they're central to what we're doing. And when you're in that group reformer, come as many times as you like, and you've got constant change of teachers, constant other people in the room, you may be not getting the right information. People know, and they don't last long.
Do they? I don't know. I think a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people don't actually realize and don't know their body and don't really know what they're doing. They're doing it mindlessly. But that's,
yeah, but that's because that's the type of movement they're interested in doing. Yeah. Those that are mindful seek out something better, in my experience. They can tell that there's something there, but they know there's something missing. The ones that don't know that anything is missing, they're never going to seek out, as Susan says, gourmet Pilates. They're always going to eat at McDonald's. Yeah. So, and I think there's a place for everything. It really is down to personal choice. And in the long run, as much as I don't particularly like it, on a personal level and on a teaching level, I think it is a disservice to a large degree. There is a place for it.
It can be taught well if people are prepared to take the time, I think.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, we can't control it, unfortunately.
No.
So yeah, no. Good.
Thank you, everyone, for your discussion and contribution. Tania, you've got an announcement to make for as a thank you gift for everyone coming on the call.
Absolutely, yes.
I'll drop that in the chat just now.
Oh, thank you very much.
Talk to that.
Yeah. So I have a free gift for everybody, and that is a free e-course which is all about growing your confidence. So this is a kind of a long-term strategy. It's an online course that you can work through. There's a workbook that goes with that, helping you to basically identify your values. And this kind of comes back to the discussion we've just had about McDonald's versus gourmet Pilates. What are your values? What are your beliefs? What is stopping you from being the confident person that you want to be and that you need to be to teach Pilates effectively? And it's a systematic way of working through all of that so that you can get clear on what gives you confidence. And so the link is there, and the code that you need, if we could just, we've got the code. The discount code there is WELCOME. And then you get that course 100% free of charge. So it's usually valued at $97. But because you've come on this call and because I'm so passionate about helping Pilates teachers gain their confidence, I'm giving it away. And like I said, there is a course discount code in the beginning of the book as well. So this is Teach Pilates, Teach Movement with Confidence.voomly.com. And the code is TMWC100, and you get $100 off that course. And it's everything that's in the book in video format with clarification videos that are there to help support you go through the actual structure of the book. And it's there is no time limit. I hate it when you do these online courses and after 3 months you can't access it anymore. So for as long as a Voomly exists, you will be able to access that course on there, and you can go back to those things as often as you like. So that there is a lot of support for you to be able to take these tools and to make them your own, so that you can define your own voice as a teacher, because we each have our own voice. Nobody can teach like me. Nobody can teach like Bruce, or like Alison, or like Mariella, or like Chantal, or Emma, or Nina, or whoever's on the call. Nobody can teach like you. Only you can teach like you. And people are going to come to you because of who you are, yeah, as a person. So they're coming because of what you can give them as a teacher. So, you know, you are unique. celebrate it, run with it, and teach the way you teach, because people that need to find you will find you. Thanks, Bruce.
Well done, Tania. Thank you. A reminder, if you could take a few minutes to add a review onto Amazon. This goes a long way in helping to build the profile of the book and get the word out and about. So if you could take a few moments and support Tania in doing that as a continuation of your time on this call today as well. And it's, I think, a very generous offering with these various programs that Tania's taken the time to put together. If you know of anyone who would benefit from these, then if you could share alike and get the word out and about the book, that goes a long way to supporting ultimately the outcome of having more and more quality teachers successful in their upholding of delivering quality Pilates around the world. Do we have any final questions or any suggestions or comments? Thank you, Sharon, for your comment just here. Thanks, Tania. Great to hear your perspective. I'm really keen to receive the book and delve into insights more deeply. Having worked with you some in the past, Sharon, I'm certain that you'll thoroughly enjoy, as I did when I first was sent the transcript in the early stages. So, and Nina as well. Look forward to the feedback, hearing your perspective on the book as you get a chance to delve into it as well. Any final questions that you'd like to add, anyone? Susan?
Yes, hello. It's not a question. Hello. Just I'm planning to choose Tania's book for the Pilates Bookworm Book Club, which is our New Zealand Teachers Book Club. And just if anybody here would be enthusiastic enough to help me promote that and to join that book club event when it happens, that would be great. Thank you. I'm really trying to get this moving in our community, and I'm so happy that we have a chance to support Tania and her work in this little way of just, getting other teachers to read the book and talk about it. Yeah. So.
Thank you so much, Susan. I really value that. I will also be interviewed by the Pilates Business Pros in America with Mark and Katrina. So that I think that's happening next week sometime. So yeah, there is some movement around all of this, and I'm so appreciative of everybody supporting this, from Anita to Mark and Katrina and yourself, and to everybody that's come on here. This is a subject that's obviously very close to my heart, and I'm so glad that it's finding some traction and resonance. Yes, just really appreciate the support. So thank you. And whatever I can do to help promote that and to support you, Susan, just let me know. I'll be there, boots and all.
And I think that piece, and thanks for your contribution, Susan, speaks to your point, Emma, around how do people know any different? How do people know any better? And I think it's the connections of things like Susan broadcasting the interest and the inquiry into how can I read more about this. I recently was fortunate to interview the very first lady who wrote an article about Pilates that I read in the summer of 95, 96. And it was interesting, she didn't even recount having written the article, but I vividly remember the content of it. And she goes, oh, that's right, that does ring a few bells from back then. But I was recounting a bit of the content to her, Emma, and she goes, oh, that sounds like a great article. I would be interested to read it sometime. So it obviously was everything that she put together in the article that immediately spoke to me about the uniqueness of Pilates. And it's more than just something that I was actually right in the middle of my sports science degree when I read the article. And even to the point towards the end of my 3 years at university, I still was left with a bunch of questions, and it had me come back to Pilates going, there was something special in that very small article in a triathlon magazine of all places that really touched a nerve for me of like, there is more to this than just banging things out. So I think if we can keep that message moving forward, Emma, and really keep proliferating that, and I think Tania's book's going to go a long way towards that. Obviously, Susan's network and each of our networks. I think that's really our job and part of the point of today's launch. So.
Fantastic, Bruce. Yeah, I agree with you. It's just, again, I come back to that first word that you uttered earlier at the beginning of our session here today, which was clarity. And in fact, I've got an online workshop all about clarity and how to find your clarity. So yeah, I don't want to overwhelm people, but I do have another offering that's coming out. And it is, again, all in support of Pilates teachers. It is an online membership that basically helps you to build your business as well as build your teaching practice and your knowledge. And I will be putting some more stuff out about that in the coming weeks. But yeah, it's basically to be there as a support for you to dip in a monthly sort of meeting with me where I can reach out and help with any questions that you've got. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to this journey. It is so exciting to be able to be here and to support teachers to be fully who they are instead of just feeling isolated and alone. And something for PAA members. Oh, don't know.
Not even
a discussion
so, yes.
for the three of us.
Oh, yes.
Yes, yeah. An idea, a discussion for the three of us to let's think of something.
Excellent. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it. Love it. That's fantastic. All right. So
great.
Any other questions, anybody? Or can we let you get on with your beautiful Saturday? You've probably had enough of me now. But not enough of Bruce, because we know that he's just a superstar.
That's very kind.
Well, just thank you for sharing all of your lovely experience in your book. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you. And lovely to celebrate with you all. Really appreciate you being here and for spending an hour and a half of your day and your time with me. It means a lot.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your attention, appreciate your attendance and your contribution. And we look forward to continuing the conversation through different mediums as we move forward with this contribution and you receiving the book. So thank you so much.